A24's Beau is Afraid, directed by Ari Aster, is now out in theaters, and my thoughts are Ari Aster should probably see a therapist. Here's my review of Beau is Afraid here on the Beneverse Movie channel. Hello, my name is Ben Friedman, and today we are going to be talking about the film Beau is Afraid, which is directed, written, and produced by Ari Aster, who has previously worked on such A24 films as Hereditary and Midsommar. Beau is Afraid is best described as a surrealist comedy with a mix of horror film. This film follows Joaquin Phoenix as the character Beau, who is a mild-mannered but paranoia-ridden man who embarks on a surreal odyssey to get home to his mother, and on the way confronts some of his greatest fears. And to describe Beau is Afraid in those terms makes the film sound far more normal than it is. Beau is Afraid is definitely not a normal film by any sense of the word. It is a very surrealist, elemental film. This film is best described as an anxiety nightmare. Those times when you feel anxious and you just feel yourself collapsing in on yourself and just kind of being consumed by crazy, disgusting, vile thoughts. That's what Beau is Afraid is fundamentally. And I didn't write any notes for this movie because I had so many thoughts about watching Beau is Afraid that I just kind of wanted to get them out there and just kind of let them sit in my own head as I'm talking aloud. And to be honest, that's kind of feels like how Ari Aster directed and wrote Beau is Afraid. This is a really absurd film. And in many cases, the absurdity works to its benefit and to its detriment. Now, let me start off with the real big positive of this movie, which is the performers. Joaquin Phoenix is very interesting as Beau Wasserman. Now, I can't say that I think this is one of his greatest performances because this performance is so dense and so out there that I struggled with what he is doing in it. But what he is asked by Ari Aster to do, Joaquin Phoenix achieves in really wonderful effects. He's a very captivating lead. But specifically, the people who steal this movie are the women in this film. Patti LuPone, who plays his mother, Mona, and then Zoe Lister-Jones, who plays a young Mona, are both exceptionally good in this film. As is Amy Ryan, who takes over as a mother-like character to Beau at a section of the film. And Parker Posey is also very good. She comes in at a very critical point in this movie. And when she comes in, the energy of the film changes in many ways. The whole cast of women is very good. With that said, they are all playing some sort of mother figure to Beau. And Beau is Afraid is very much an Oedipus complex kind of brought to life. There is a lot of Oedipus-like scenes in this movie that are very uncomfortable to digest. There is some really weird mother-son dynamics in this film. It feels like Ari Aster is trying to say something about parenthood, something that he said in Hereditary, now brought even bigger to life in Beau is Afraid. And those elements feel very personal and they feel very uncomfortable to dive in. And yet it is the core text of Beau is Afraid. And there is a lot to digest in Beau is Afraid as it relates to the mother-son relationship in this film. I will say the film does that better as it goes along. By the time we get to the third act, there are scenes that happen that really fundamentally change the first two acts. And it changes the relationship between Beau and his mother for what I found to be the better. The issue, however, is Beau is Afraid is 3 hours long. And it takes quite a while to get to that just change. And by the time the energy of the film changes and we learn something new about the narrative focus of Beau is Afraid, the film loses me. I am emotionally checked out because so much has happened in this film. Now, the world of Beau is Afraid is a very interesting one to dive into. It's unclear what the character Joaquin Phoenix plays in this movie, what is real and what is surreal and what is just completely in his imagination. There are a few interpretations that you could take of Beau is Afraid. You could take this all as the character of Beau having a nightmare. You could take this all as a very exaggerated world that we live in, that the character of Beau is in America today, but it's very much exaggerated to play on all of his fears, whether it's violence, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's obviously his mommy issues, whether it's just crime, anything like that. It feels so enlarged in this movie. So you do have this where it is an exaggeration. You could also read this film as surrealist text, where this is truly just something out there ridiculous, and it is supposed to be read the same way that you would read almost folklore. You understand that everything is greatly exaggerated, and it is done to teach a lesson. You could take all of those lessons here in Beau is Afraid, and to be honest, your interpretations would vary, but they would all probably be correct. What Ari Aster does very well as a writer is you're never sure with what is going on, but there are hints suggesting all of them, so it makes it a fun watch to try and catch up with what the film is thinking. Now, this film, Beau is Afraid, really does borrow from mythic tales. Specifically, the one that's been referenced the most is Homer's The Odyssey. And this film is very episodic, like Homer's work is. It is very much an Act 1, an Act 2, and Act 3 structure, all with this kind of greater-than-life moralistic tale, at the center of it. And again, you're left wondering what is real, what is not. The issue I had with Beau is Afraid, though, is just how in the dark I felt while watching this movie. I understood what Beau is Afraid is trying to accomplish. It is trying to be, to a degree, a nightmare-fueled text about anxiety that also works strongly with comedy. It is these two blends, and not to say that this isn't always done successful, but it is also done exhausting. By the 3-hour mark, you're kind of left sitting there like, I get it. Some of the jokes really drag on. There are sequences in this film that go on far too long without any real payoff. There's a sequence involving Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan, who play two almost parent-like characters to Beau, and the sequence just goes on far too long. Now, that's again not to say that Beau is Afraid does not have its genius in it, because there is some exceptionally well-crafted directorial and set design within Beau is Afraid. There is a sequence in the middle that is largely animated that looks absolutely beautiful. There is some framing in this film, especially in the first act where they are in this New York-like town, that look absolutely incredible. And there is just such clever writing that is present in the film. I have to give Beau is Afraid credit for just how wild and crazy it is going out there. This film is nothing if not ambitious. And that ambitiousness of it allows it to work to great heights, but it also just causes you to just wish, or at least I found myself wishing, that this film was a little bit tighter, that there was something more that I could grasp onto. Because by the time the film ends, I was tired, and not in a good way. I wasn't exhausted and just kind of like had a relief. I was just like kind of done with Beau is Afraid by the end of it. Even though I started off liking it more than I thought, the film just wore on me, and I just couldn't get back in. Once I was feeling that wear, it never pulled me back in. And while there are some compelling things that happened in the third act, I just was never brought back into this world that is Beau is Afraid. And that is a failure of the film for me. One element that I want to talk about in Beau is Afraid, without giving any real spoilers, is there's this meta commentary that you can read in the film, specifically with filmmaking and specifically with how this film is going to be received. I think Ari Aster is a genius in the way that he understands how people are going to approach this film and what they are going to think of him after making this film, and how critics of Beau is Afraid are going to talk about this film. I think he is keenly aware of the responses. To some degree, there are jokes that run on in this movie for far too long that I think he is purposely doing. It all feels very purposeful to mess with the audience, that he almost knows this joke is going to work with people who are on my wavelength, who find this joke really funny. And for the rest of you, it's going to alienate you, and I want it to alienate you as much as humanly possible. There is just this such a realized meta context of this film that Ari Aster is able to achieve that I was kind of left just astonished by. Now, like I said, Beau is Afraid is ultimately a movie that I appreciated and respected, but by the end of it, I'm tired and just lost all interest in it. That's not to say that there isn't great elements of this film, but the great elements don't make up for what I found to be just an overlong, overwritten film that just struggled to have cohesiveness to its script. Ultimately, Beau is Afraid is the exercise of Ari Aster, and he has a lot to say in this exercise. It just didn't click for me. Thus, I am giving Beau is Afraid 2 stars out of 5 here on the Beneverse Movie Channel. Anyway, thank you all for watching this video. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the Beneverse Movie Channel for more movie reviews. My name is Ben Friedman here from the Beneverse. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe below, and take care, and bye-bye.